Yo, what's up, guys? It's Ryan, and today we're doing a quick project walkthrough, or not a quick one, but a project walkthrough of my track Reflections. This is the third track on the latest EP, Drifting, and probably the coolest one, if we're being honest. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. We'll kind of go from what enters first. So we've got this dust and dirt thing, just because I always have something like that, and it's kind of like my version of white noise, and it just adds a little bit of crackle, and it reminds me of vinyl effects. And that's just going through the entire track. It doesn't have any effects on it or anything. It's super in the background, hardly noticeable. But then we've also got these two loops right here. This dust loop and this percussion loop. And this one's getting faded in, and this one isn't. So this dust loop is kind of like paired with the other dirt and dust, just to add some high-end like sizzle, I guess. Not any processing done to either of those. And then this loop right here is just like an extra percussion loop. I've got some reverb on it, 100% reverb, mix, some chorus just to make it sound weird. And I was just kind of experimenting, really. This EQ to just bring out the highs more, and this utility, which is fading it in the first like 8 bars. If we turn all of it off, this is what it sounds like. So I wanted it more ambient to kind of fit the vibe of the track, and this is what I got. Then we have this percussion loop right here. And that I just EQ'd it just to have mainly mids and a little bit of highs. I compressed it so all of these tiny little transient things, like right there, get brought out equally. And all of this, minus this first dust loop or dirt sample, are from the Micro Medicine sample packs off of Splice. So yeah, that's where I got all of those. Yeah. And then the actual drums come in up here. So we've got this kick right here. And I have this EQ, which looks a little extreme, honestly. And it really is, but without any effects, this is what the kick sounds like. So that has a lot of really harsh high end, so I just took this EQ and kind of made it more of a thud, used this multiband and immediately reversed what I did in the EQ. And then some reverb. And then I've got this auto filter, which kicks in later in the track. And then I've got these two snares. All of this is from the Micro Medicine pack still. This snare, I've got some reverb on it right there. I've got this EQ, just kind of bringing out the what's it called, the fundamental of the snare, and like where the beef of it is, taking out a little bit of mids and boosting a little bit of highs and compressing it a little bit. And the next one, same sort of deal. I'm pretty sure this is the same exact reverb, basically the same EQ, basically the same compressor. and then this reverse snare. It's just a reverse snare with a bunch of reverb, 100% mix, and an EQ taking out some highs and a lot of lows. All right. And then this open hi-hat comes in. And I've got this EQ taking out a bunch of lows, and I'm adding some reverb after that. And it's just an offbeat, really. And that's really all it is. We've got the sub up here. And this is a Serum patch. It's just literally a sine wave with an envelope that kind of dies off after it's been held for a little bit, and then it has a little bit of a release. It makes it feel more human to me when the sub has a release and a little bit of a drop in sustain or hold or whatever that would be. Excuse me, I'm really bad with envelopes, but I know how to make them visually. There's no effects on it in Serum. It's literally just a sine wave with an envelope on it. But then we jump into this audio effects rack. And then I've got these two chains right here. And this one is literally just the dry signal. I put an EQ on it because I thought maybe I would do something. It's just that. And I also have Portamento on to give it a little bit of a sliding feel also, by the way. So I've got that one chain. Then this second chain has a saturator on it, which is just kind of cranking the distortion. And then I've got this EQ taking out most of the highs and most of the lows. So together we get. Then after that, I've got a multi-band compressor, just kind of cranking the lows a little bit. And then another compressor, which I'm using for side chaining. And then this utility, which is just automating volume. We've got this sidechain channel, which is just the kick made really, really short by having the fades go really, really quick. And then this is being used to sidechain the sub, and I think it might only be the sub. Yeah, it's only sidechaining the sub, but this is a ghost kick sort of setup. So I just have this note play whenever a kick or snare hits, and then the sub ducks. Yeah, and just there's only really two things in the low end, which is the kick snare, or the kick snare and sub. So there's three things. So I just wanted the sub to back off a little bit every time it hit. And I've got it like pretty quick, so you don't really notice this sub drop out, but it's there and it's pretty effective. So we've also got obviously the guitars. And this shouldn't be any surprise to you. If you've watched any of my other videos, S-Gear, American Clean, and Virtual Mix Rack, air, and a little bit of compression. Like you can see, it's not really doing much compression. But all of the reverb, delay, distortion, everything is I've got a little bit on the Clean Rhythm channel. Not a ton though. Or the Clean Rhythm group, my bad. But like all of the rest of it is coming from the Strymon Big Sky on my pedal board. And yeah, best reverb pedal in the world. But I've got these two channels, each of them are panned 32, right or left, and double tracked. There's this EQ on it because without it, it's like an absolutely massive sound, and I love massive sounds, but it was a little too much for this particular track. Got the auto filter, which I use later, and the utility to control volume. Because as soon as the lead comes in, I drop the volume, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So then I've got the lead channel, which is the same sort of thing on every track. Yeah, I do have like a million versions of the S Gear and Virtual Mix Rack, and I'm sure my CPU loves it. But we have a few special things on each of them. So this first really melody part, S Gear, Virtual Mix Rack, Valhalla Room, just a little bit though. And it's mainly for the stereo image. Again, most of the reverb is actually coming from the Strymon Big Sky. But just helps fill it out a little bit. Auto filter that I use later, I'm assuming. And utility, which I honestly don't think I ever used, but it's there. And then this comes in. S Gear, Virtual Mix Rack, all the same. Valhalla Room, a little bit more to wash it out. An EQ to just take out all of the lows and boost some of the highs. Auto pan to have it swirling around a little bit, and an auto filter that I use later on in the track. This is kind of the same patch as far as like pedal board goes. It's got some delay from Strymon Timeline, reverb from Strymon Big Sky, and a rotary emulation from the Strymon Mobius, and I'm pretty sure it's getting boosted by the Strymon Sunset. I love Strymon pedals, in case you can't tell. They're the greatest. But yeah, all four of those are being used together. And I've also got the Walrus Audio Deep 6, which is on all the time for all of these parts. Just also, it's a compressor. So there's that one, and then so yeah, all of those are basically just the S Gear and Virtual Mix Racks. Except for apparently that one. Oh yeah, so I wanted it to kind of like fade out, but like really ambiently. So I have this mix control. So it gets super washed out, and just to keep the reverb under control, I have a limiter and a utility to keep it all kind of the same volume. And this distortion that I'm using on this is the Full Tone OCD. It's a great distortion for like the bluesier sort of stuff. I love it. And also on this lead channel or group, we've got a little bit of reverb for the stereo image, and we've got this kind of absurd looking EQ. and that was just 100% to taste, you know. And I liked how it sounded. And we've got some other percussion stuff that comes in that I haven't gone over. We've got this hat thing, which is just like another thing, like if you listen for it really hard. So what this is this is a MIDI track, like that. And then there's a simpler, which is this hi-hat. Really, any hi-hat will do exactly what this did. I bit crushed it with a Redux effect. Used an EQ to get rid of all of the nasty lows and mids, and then have an auto pan swirling it around our heads, just to add some more movement. And I dropped it pretty far in the background, so nobody can hear it. We've got this riser, just some reverse noise, just have some some reverb on it. Nothing fancy going on there. Got this reverse crash. And yeah, it's from Leviathan. Both of those things are from Leviathan. Have some filter delay and some reverb. How you do, you know. How I did this thing right here. Or I think I meant this thing. So this crash usually does the reverb and delay thing for forever, but I cut it off and turned off the speaker right there. And also over here I had an auto filter take down the rhythm guitar and the lead guitar and the two lead guitars. I had them cut out a ton of the highs just to get that sort of hushed effect. Same with the drums, by the way. And this sub got dropped to nothing using a utility. Then we've got this last thing right here. And this is obviously the same guitar part as this right here, but as it goes, I have an extra simple delay on, and that just is filling it out a little more. The feedback keeps getting turned up and up and up. Then I have this erosion plugin, which I honestly don't know a ton about, but I automated a bunch of parameters super weirdly, and it kind of just broke the sound. Like that, and I thought it was a cool way to end the track and the EP, really. So I did that, and I'm sorry I can't give any more like details about what I did there. This is literally the first time I've used that, and I've been in Ableton for like 2 years or something like that. So that's all of the elements and the timeline. On the master, just like all the other stuff, I've only got an FGX, which is set to the preset Stevens Mastering Smooth. The gain's cranked up to get it at a reasonable level, pretty close to 0 dB. And yeah, it's super simple. Most of it is just the preset. I just like cranked the gain a little bit, even if we play it and then turn it off. It's really just making it louder, and that's how I like to to make my tracks is I like to make them as finished and as mastered sounding as possible before I touch the master chain, which sounds stupid, but I've never personally gotten the hype for mastering when I can make it sound how I want it to sound without, like, immediately, you know? Like, why wait for the mastering process to make it sound finished? Why not just do it while you're making the track? I know that's like a super controversial thing, really, to say, because people love to think that mastering is like the holy grail of music production. But personally, I just don't find it all that necessary when you can process each track individually to get it sounding exactly how you want. But that's just me. If you have a counter argument, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to discuss and or listen and or change my ways. So yeah, that's the track, Reflections. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something, most importantly. Also, real fast, if you want 7% off music distribution, there's a DistroKid link in my description, and if you click on it and sign up, you get 7% off, and I get $5, and that's pretty neat because I want more gear, just like everybody else does. So help me out. I'll help you out if you help me out. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.